Hi folks, this is part 3 in the course Wholeness and Holism. This course is about one of the greatest mysteries of the universe. Wholeness and Holism is about interconnectedness of all things. And it's difficult to understand the universe because the boundary of our universe is something like 93 billion light years across, so it's a very large universe we live in. So what is a universe? Science has been trying to define how the universe works without first defining what a universe is. A universe is a construct that expresses itself an interconnected wholeness. A universe that is divided against itself is not a universe. Let's relive the proposition we made in the first part of this course. In the theory of wholeness and holism, we considered that there is an ethereal universe and there's the material universe, or the ethereal realm and the material realm. And in the ethereal realm, you have what is called holism, and in the material realm, you have what is called separation. So things are observed separate from each other, whereas in the ethereal realm, they are seen as a unified whole. In the ethereal realm, you have etheric reality, and in the material realm, you have physical reality. And etheric reality has many layers. These are layers of waves with different frequencies. But so too in the material realm, we have different layers, as we'll see later on. In the ethereal universe, we learn who we are, and in the material universe, we learn who we appear to be. So in this proposition, there are two universes, the one contained in the etheric reality and the one contained in the physical reality. The universe in the etheric reality is the cause, and the universe in the physical universe is the effect. So to understand the universe, you must first understand him from this proposition of cause and effect. In the etheric universe, waves cause particles, and one is a wave form and the other is a physical matter form. Humans have been trapped into thinking they are just physical beings and don't understand that the physical bodies they have are just waves of energy, expressing themselves as physical matter. Humans therefore only see the effect and not the cause. It's a bit like looking at the reverse image of yourself in the mirror and thinking, feeling and living as if the image in the mirror is you. Whereas in fact you are the person looking into the mirror, so your universe is within you. People don't hear their own thoughts or feel their own feelings. They first look in the mirror to see what they look like. And if they can make up that face and wash and clean their teeth, so the effect is acceptable to themselves and everyone else, they consider this normal and completely miss and don't hear or feel the person who is looking into the mirror. This is the mirror effect. One can only conclude that in the shared reality, humans are looking at the reality from the aspect of the effect that it has and not the cause, the one who looks in the mirror. To understand the effect better, one has to understand what caused it. The etheric universe is the cause, and the manifest reality is the effect. These two universes are meant to work together, as they do, in actual fact, but we just have it one-sided or upside down here, or in reverse. This is why science is so dissociative here. They can't reconcile that these two universes exist at the same time and in the same place. We are going to examine these two universes and demonstrate that the etheric universe causes or creates the physical universe, and the two don't conflict with each other. It just depends on how you look at them. There are many elements in the etheric universe. There are principally waves of light and sound that manifest themselves in different ways in the reality fields, our hologram. Then there's the pulsal rhythm that determines the frequencies of the wave. Our Earth has a base pulse rhythm called the Schumann resonance, named after the scientist who discovered them. It was found that when EEG techniques were used to measure brain waves, that brain waves resonated at the same rate as the Schumann resonance, that's 7.83 Hz, making a connection between the Earth's base pulse rhythm and the electromagnetic waves emitted by our brains, and therefore our entire physiology. This pulsal rhythm can be likened to a drum beat that determines not only the frequency, but also the amplitude, height of the waves. This base pulse rhythm is sometimes described as the beating heart of God. If we refer back to our earlier courses, the frequencies of light and sound, together with the base pulse rhythm, create the conscious observers, us, as well as the reality field and dimensional fields in which we experience our reality on our soul evolutionary journey through the dimensional fields. Are you beginning to see how it all fits together? The universe consists of 99.99% light and sound waves. What are these waves? There are basically two kinds of waves, light and sound waves, and they are carried through the universe by something called the ether. Why is this relevant? Well, these waves collectively create matter, and they create form, as we see in cymatics. They create the holographic reality fields. They create timelines of reality and dimensional spaces of reality through their inherent properties and their geometry. How do they do that? Matter is created by the observation of waves, which when observed are matter, and when not observed remain waves. They exist in two forms simultaneously. Do you remember the double slit hole experiment that we did in our Mechanics of Creation course, that found that when waves of energy were observed, those waves appeared as particles? So what is matter? Matter is wave interference, which when observed appears as matter. So who is the observer? Well, we are. We are both the observer of our reality as well as the creators of it. So what is the observer? The observer is a sovereign soul being that is created when it becomes self-aware. This is the soul. How does the observer, the soul, come about? Souls are created when a wave of light and a wave of sound that are in harmonic resonance create a spark of energy, and then magically enter a reality field of awareness, and enter a soul evolutionary journey to have experiences in order to refine the soul. What happens when light and sound waves in harmonic resonance with each other collide? Well, it sparks, and that spark creates a self-aware soul. The soul being observes their reality as matter through a step process of creation. First, a particle we call a quanta is created. Quanta are a field of highly charged electric and magnetic particles and waves that create a morphogenetic field we call quarks. And quarks have never really been observed, so they remain a theoretical science. Quarks are more accurately termed a morphogenetic field, that is, a spiraling standing scalar wave. All matter is based on scalar technology at the level of the morphogenetic field. When atoms begin to spin faster and faster, they transform into molecules. These highly vibrating molecules are the building blocks for what we call cells. So we live in and observe all matter as cellular constructs. These highly vibrating molecules are the building blocks of what we call cells. Important to remember that. So what's important to understand is that we are waves of light and sound, particles called quanta, quarks, morphogenetic fields, atoms, molecules and cells, all at the same time in many levels of material reality. Souls are created when a wave of light and sound are in harmonic resonance. What is an harmonic resonant wave? A harmonic resonant wave means that the frequency of the wave bears a certain mathematical relationships to its crossover wave. For example, in our earlier course, we also looked at the musical spiral. We saw that each note on this Fibonacci type spiral has a certain harmonic resonance and a certain mathematical relationship to its previous note. And this not only applies to sound, but it also applies to color. Color has a magnetic spectrum as well, and that spectrum takes the shape of a Fibonacci spiral. The frequencies of light create colors. The frequencies of sound creates notes in musical or sounds. When light and sound waves are combined in an harmonic way, they create a certain energy signature. That is what gives the soul its unique soul identity. The soul body is a field of highly charged electrically and magnetically charged particles or ions, and it's called a plasma field. How do we know we have a soul body? Because the soul can be filmed and photographed using bioelectric photography. The soul body is what animates and motivates the physical body and provides the energy that drives it. When the soul body leaves the physical body dies. To understand this, we have to learn about electromagnetic energy. Everything that is a living organism has a soul body and a soul construct. Each and all souls have the same soul template. Everything that is apparent in the holographic reality field has a soul energy construct. Each soul body enters a soul evolutionary process or journey through the dimensional structure of reality fields, which are the holograms. Each soul body refines itself by creating experiences for itself on its soul evolutionary journey. A soul has its experience in a holographic field of reality. Each soul has a relationship with other souls. These relationships are created by the wave fields. Waves come from somewhere and they are going somewhere. And this to-ing and fro-ing of waves create these relationships. So all souls are therefore connected through the waves of light and sound that traverse the etheric universe and what is called the ether, or the fifth state of water. That's how it works. Physical reality occurs in three-dimensional reality fields. Thank you for watching, and please watch the following video as well to end this segment.
What is ether? Ether is a unique essence of life force energy that flows through the universe and most of existence, the source of quintessence, chi, aura, and mana. It is the mystical celestial element that is also known as the fifth element: fire, water, earth, air, and ether. In Plato's Timaeus, speaking on the topic of air, Plato mentions that they are the most translucent kind, which is called by the name of ether. There are 4 different types of ether: warmth, impulse creating, binding biological force; light, makes things visible, upright force in plants and humans; tone, chemical, structures development of phenomena; and life, unifies an object and its environment. One claim is that the ether is the pure essence that the mythological gods lived and breathed in the same way humans did with air. Another claim is that the ether is a force used by God himself to create the universe. Another reference would be in the Hermeticist book, the Kybalion, that not only explains its nature, but the plane it comes from. There have been many claims and theories made by alchemists, philosophers, and scientists, such as Nikola Tesla and Dayton Miller, that confirm the ether's existence. Ether is the medium for every electromagnetic wave, from radio waves to gamma rays. Ether exists in elemental, cosmic, and spiritual forces. This is also recorded in the Kybalion's entries. Energy and spirit. Everything vibrates, known as the principle of vibration. All energy moves, vibrates, and spirals. The differences between different manifestations of matter, form, energy, mind, and spirit are the result of different degrees of vibration. Levels and layers. There are 3 basic planes of being: the great physical plane, earth; the great mental plane, air, fire, water, and earth; the great spiritual plane, ether. Spirits are believed to be ethereal beings that are basically made of ether. Experiments on the ether. The concept of ether was used in several theories to explain several natural phenomena, such as the speed of light and gravity. In the late 19th century, physicists postulated that ether permeated all throughout space, providing a medium through which light waves could travel in a vacuum. The result of that test was that they were unsuccessful in proving that the luminous ether wind exists in the Michelson-Morley experiment. The experiment was performed in 1887 by Albert A. Michelson and Edward W. Morley at what is now Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio. They suspected that the ether wind followed in one direction, but that is not the case, and so all the experiments that have been performed have been with little results. In other words, they expected it to be measurable in a way that is in an incorrect method of measuring ether. What I find interesting is that a great scientist by the name of Dayton Miller had positive results and is usually left out of the conversation when it comes to proving the ether's existence. Dayton Miller was a scientific leader of the 20s and 30s. He led the leading science journal of the time. Miller provided beyond any doubt that the ether was real. He destroyed the relativists so badly and exposed their lies with such ferocity that they had to wait 14 years till after his death before they could bribe enough people to ignore his work. But there were far more experiments done afterwards that provided the existence of the ether, all of whom they willingly choose to ignore. I believe that I have really found the relationship between gravitation and electricity, assuming that the Miller experiments are based on a fundamental error. Otherwise, the whole relativity theory collapses like a house of cards. The history of science records the 1887 ether drift experiment of Albert Michelson and Edward Morley as a pivotal turning point where the energetic ether of space was discarded by mainstream physics. Thereafter, the postulate of empty space was embraced, along with related concepts which demanded constancy and light speed, such as Albert Einstein's relativity theory. The now famous Michelson-Morley experiment is widely cited in almost all the physics textbooks for its claimed null or negative results. Less known, however, is the far more significant and detailed work of Dayton Miller. Miller's 1933 paper in Reviews of Modern Physics details the positive results from over 20 years of experimental research into the question of ether drift and remains the most definitive body of work on the subject of light beam interferometry. Dayton Miller's work on ether drift was so constructed and yielded consistently positive results. The so-called experts denied the existence of ether, and yet it's no wonder why it seems like we are coming close to a dead end when it comes to science. Perhaps it's about time that we try some new experiments with modern-day equipment. What do you think? Nikola Tesla once said that the day scientists begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in 1 decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence. Another thing to consider is that these tests are based on a spherical Earth model and has never been tested on a flat Earth model that I am aware of. Hey, you never know. Leave no stone unturned. Tesla and the ether. Only the existence of a field of force can account for the motions of the bodies as observed, and its assumption dispenses with space curvature. All literature on this subject is futile and destined to oblivion, so are all the attempts to explain the workings of the universe without recognizing the existence of the ether and the indispensable function it plays in the phenomena. My second discovery was of a physical truth of the greatest importance, as I have searched the entire scientific records in more than a half dozen languages for a long time without finding the least anticipation. I consider myself the original discoverer of this truth, which can be expressed by the statement, "There is no energy in matter other than that received from the environment." Nikola Tesla. In the 20th century, Nikola Tesla discovered many inventions through his research, which involved ether energy. With around 300 patents to his name and many breakthrough inventions, Nikola Tesla is one of the greatest scientists that ever lived, if not the greatest. Was the Great Pyramids and Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower used to harness ether energy? Tesla began building the Wardenclyffe Tower around 1902, and he applied a nearly identical form of ancient technology used in Egypt's Great Pyramid over 4,000 years ago. Tesla's tower was believed to have been built upon aquifers, which means that the electric technology used by Tesla is nearly identical to that applied in the construction of the Great Pyramid and the Pyramid of Chichen Itza. The ancient builders of the Great Pyramid took advantage of the water of the Nile River at the Giza Plateau. Interestingly, the Giza Plateau, where the pyramids are located, is full of underground water channels. The pyramids of the Giza Plateau rise above limestone layers located underneath aquifers, and the spaces in between them are filled with great amounts of water, and these layers of rock are capable of transmitting energy upwards as they carry the underground water to the surface. This means that the high volume flow of water that passes through these underground cavities is capable of producing an electrical current. As for the Pyramid of Chichen Itza, a study has shown that a natural sinkhole, also known as a cenote, is located underneath the pyramid. Experts have found it is connected to other caverns and lakes in the area. The water filling the cavern is thought to run from north to south. This means that the Pyramid of Chichen Itza sits upon a subterranean water source, just as Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower and the Great Pyramid of Giza. The Great Pyramid of Giza, the Pyramid of Chichen Itza, and Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower were very similar systems that generated power using the Earth's electromagnetic field, and possibly so that ether energy could be absorbed and utilized as a source of energy. The Great Pyramid of Giza was built on the Earth's 5th chakra location and on intersecting ley lines. Tesla's Tower and the Pyramid of Chichen Itza were also located on ley lines. All megalithic structures have been strategically built on top of these ley lines. Tesla was probably onto some major breakthroughs and discoveries using the ether element. His main goal was to create free energy for the whole world. This great work has been concealed by greedy people for centuries, and because of greed, by the money-hungry monopoly elite investors and the owners of the power companies, he got shut down. When Tesla died, the FBI banned and seized all of his work, especially his work that involved the use of ether energy. Donald Trump's uncle, John G. Trump, a professor at MIT and a well-known electrical engineer serving as a technical aide to the National Defense Research Committee, was called in to analyze the Tesla items, which were being held in custody. Tesla's research on ether energy has been declared as secret records by the United States government. Truth has a way of surfacing, and there will be a day when all the world will see all of Nikola Tesla's great inventions come to life. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. My brain is only a receiver. In the universe, there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration. I'm no expert scientist, but I am a good investigator. And what I am saying is that the secret to a prosperity future and endless possibilities for this world will be found in the ether energy element. And I believe that Tesla was getting very close to unlocking its secrets. Possibly one of the clues is found in the mysterious 369 quote that apparently comes from Nikola Tesla. If you only knew the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, then you would have a key to the universe. Does this quote really come from Tesla? It is unknown, but I do believe that the secret is in the ether element. According to the research done by God's Alchemy Group, who has a great documentary on YouTube called Polaris Star, they say that there are already 5 elements with the addition of sky of the physical world, and that the ether energy is found in all the 5 elements: fire, water, air, earth, and sky. They then go on to say that from the beginning of the Copper Age and up to about 2,000 years ago, there was a strong belief that 5 elements consist of the ether element, but some scientists today are not accepting this as fact, and for that reason, they are not getting the complete equation of unified field theory, or theory of everything. Ether has interaction with the 5 elements through a unified geometric field, and not through unified field equations. The dark energy that is being searched by today's scientists is nothing more than the ether element. Science is considering ether as an imaginary element, which is a big mistake. The day when science begins to study the ether element, then all the powers of the universe will be revealed. In reality, we are not this body which is mortal. We are metaphysical light energy. It is very subtle, immortal, eternal, and cannot be seen with our eyes or by a microscope. The human eye can only see certain energies, and there are also energies that we cannot see with the human eye, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist. All religions consider God as the universal light. God is light, literally. God alone, who is immortal and lives in unapproachable light, whom no one has seen or can see. When humanity begins to open-mindedly study the metaphysical powers, God, soul, and ether, then it will be possible to know the secret that science and spirituality are one and the same. When we realize this and put it into action, then it will be possible to create heaven on earth. Today's scientists have substituted mathematics for experiments, and they wander off through equation after equation and eventually build a structure which has no relation to reality.
What's going on, people? I hope you're doing well. And although we're talking about holism in this video, I'm a fan of the reductionist approach to knowledge acquisition and problem solving just as much as I'm a fan of the holistic approach. I think I need to preface this video with that. But when it comes to our lives, who we are, our world, the things that we want to have some meaning, reductionism just isn't the way. How we go about knowing shapes what we understand, so our methods warrant some balance if we don't want to get a warped and misshaped worldview. Since the default approach to knowing for the average person is to divide and reduce the object or concept of interest, we must make an active effort to incorporate an inclusive perspective, no matter how out of fashion it is. Failing to do so only gives us the functional side of understanding, not the meaningful side of it. Through reduction alone, we can never know the why, the what, or the how in a way that has any relation to us or our lives, which is often what I think most people are really after. If we're talking about understanding the culture, the climate, or the universe, how we view them determines how we view ourselves and how we relate to these things. Do we understand culture, climate, and the universe as a system of individual components in a specific arrangement, or as a single thing reducible to individual components? The philosophical question we're asking here is whether or not an object is a thing or nothing more than a collection of smaller things composing what we perceive as an object. For example, we could ask if the economy is a thing in and of itself or simply the image of billions of human financial transactions. Both views can be rational and logical, although the holistic approach is largely shunned because it lacks the predictive power, the accuracy, and the efficiency that we've grown increasingly accustomed to in this world today, and also because we've almost universally misunderstood the philosophy of holism. Holism is an epistemological approach or a top-down way of acquiring knowledge. It is the theory that the proper view of a thing, especially reality and existence in my opinion, is as an integrated whole instead of an assemblage of individual parts. It's a useful view if you're trying to make sense of the world and your place in it because it helps you understand your position relative to the whole, or in another sense, it helps you get your bearings. This perspective is desirable because in order to truly understand a thing, including what a life is, you must understand that thing within a context broad enough to substantiate some meaning. Depending on the object of your attention, that context could be as narrow as an electron, the rules of a game, or it could be as broad as the largest conceivable universe. It really doesn't matter as long as all essential parts, characteristics, or features are contained within the contextual boundary of the whole. An integrated and holistic view is useful existentially and philosophically because the contextual boundary or the definition of the whole grants meaning to the parts contained within or composing the whole. This context gives us a single coordinate from which we can begin constructing a grid or coordinate system that will allow every other part of the whole to be understood in terms of how it relates to the other parts as well as the contextually bounded object. In a holistic sense, our understanding of a single component or multiple components of a system or object is less about the individual constituents and how they relate to one another, and more about how they relate to the entirety of the ensemble. Medically speaking, it'd be less about your high blood pressure and more about your overall health and quality of life. Culturally or socially, it'd be less about an individual person and more about how the societies and cultures composed of individual people operate. Taking this line of thinking to the logical and philosophical extreme, it's less about what the universe is made of and more about how and why the components of the universal whole, including us, relate to one another and the whole the way we do. Of course, as with all things, there is a trade-off since nothing is perfect in life, right? So what you gain in terms of context and meaning with the holistic approach, you will likely lose in terms of precision of explanation and functional utility, which can help explain why many of us in the West are slow or rejecting adopting a holistic view, because in the West, we typically just want to get by something. We just want to get through something. We don't want to know and understand that something. We just want to use a thing and not be burdened with the how, the what, and the why of that thing. And oftentimes having a reduced connection can aid us in making more effective and efficient functional use of that thing. But if we are pursuing excellence in life, or if we want to make a skillful and intelligent use of a thing, we need some meaning and we need some contextual understanding. Even if you have zero regard for the subjective, I still think the holistic perspective is something you want to consider incorporating into your worldview and epistemic pursuits because of its logical soundness. The whole logically contains more sets than the sets contained within the whole. There are more potential ways of arranging and conceiving of a thing in a broader, more holistic view than a narrow, reductive view. This makes understanding the whole, especially the universal whole, the logically more consistent or truer view because it, by definition, contains all objects and concepts within the contextual whole. There is no component or relationship that is excluded, which means there is no truth that's excluded. Ironically, the pioneer of holism, Jan Smuts, was a supporter of apartheid and segregation, but I don't really care because I'm able to separate the individual from the majority of their works, as I think we should all try to do. I just think it serves to show us that we can have understanding, knowledge, and even an evolved theory of existence and still struggle to embrace it in our lives. Knowing better and living better are two different things, clearly. As always, let me know what you think about this video in the comment section below, especially if you're talking about holism and especially if you're on the other side of the street, if you're an atomist or a reductionist and you think the holistic knowledge seeker is being far out, unintelligent, and weird. Let us know in the comment section below. And if you like this video, let me know by liking the video. And if you want to see a lot more of these videos, make sure you're subscribed. So thank you for watching. I will see you on the next one. I want you to have a great day. Later.
Thank you. Much love and respect.